I'm going to share something with you that is going to change how you sell anything. It doesn't matter if you share a product or a service, or you're trying to sell yourself on the job. You're trying to sell your business as an investment opportunity to prospective investors. Whatever it is you're trying to sell to anybody, the things I'm going to share with you in this short video will really change how you look at yourself and what you sell and the person you're trying to sell to. And that thing I want to talk about is value. Value is such an overused and misused word these days that most of us really don't understand what we mean when we say value. So there's always value to the customer, value for money, value, value, value. Everybody preaches that you're selling value, but what exactly constitutes value? Not very many people can answer that, right? So in my line of work, I help entrepreneurs and business owners figure out what is standing between them and achieving the goals that they've set out for themselves, whether it's trying to raise money for their business or trying to get more customers or trying to squeeze out more profit from their sales and things like that. But everything always boils down to value. And what exactly does value mean? I think in very layman terms, value would mean what influences your customer or the person you're selling to actually agree to what you're selling to them. So this will be a customer agreeing to buy your product, but actually bringing out their wallet and then, or their card and paying for that thing that you sell. This will be the investor finally giving you the money that you're asking for, right? Essentially, when people see value in something, they are likely going to want it, which is why, like I always say, value lies in the eyes of the customer. So it's important for you to establish value for two very important reasons. The first is that if people struggle to see the value in what you're selling to them, they may not yield, right? They may not buy. In fact, they will not buy. Most people will not buy if they don't see the value in what you're selling to them. The second reason is that value plays a big role in justifying the price you set for anything, right? If people perceive the value in what you're selling to be low, they would think you are too expensive. That's why you hear things like, but your product is too expensive. Whenever you hear your product is too expensive, what it means is that the value I see in it vis-a-vis the price you're setting for it doesn't make any sense. The value is much lower than the price. That's why people say things like it's much more expensive. Or sometimes they are comparing you to somebody else. Your competitor sells the exact same product or provides the exact same service at a certain price, and then you're setting a higher price. But I cannot see the extra value in what you sell. So if you're selling the same thing as your competitor, why is your price higher than your competitors? So customers, investors, anybody you're trying to sell to, they are always running these numbers in their heads around value. So most times when we talk about value in terms of price, but most people really don't discuss value. But today I'm really going to break down to you what value means and how you can change that conversation to more or less lie in your favor, right? When people talk about value, or let me finish this whole thing about value and price. If you want to get away with a higher price, what it means is that you have to work on the perceived value of what you're selling. Because if you don't work on the value and you just set a higher price, like I said, people will think you're expensive. But if the perceived value is high, it justifies the price that you set for it. So having this in mind, let me break down what value means and how you should blend it into your conversations. When the concept of value shows up in a person's mind, there are actually two kinds of value that people are thinking of, either consciously or unconsciously. The first type of value is logical value. What can this product do for me? What are the benefits? Essentially, logical value is anything I can measure, right? So this will be, I'm trying to buy a car. How durable is it? How economical is it in terms of fuel? How easy is it to maintain? How easy is it to find the spare parts? All of these things are logical metrics. They are measurable. So when it comes to logical value, your customers, your prospective customers, are trying to measure the benefits they will get from your products. So these things are measurable. That's the first kind of value, logical value. The second kind of value is emotional value. You cannot measure emotional value because it is based on sentiments. It's based on feelings. Now, let me give you some very clear examples on how these things come into play. There are very successful companies, of which I'm going to give you one example, that get off on selling on emotional value mostly. So think about a product like Coca-Cola, right? In terms of logical value, if you think in terms of logical value, Coca-Cola as a product is actually inferior to water. When you think about it in terms of the health benefits, Coke is actually inferior to water. And guess what? That is why you will never see any Coke advert that talks about the logical value of why you should drink a Coke. Because if they talk about the logical value, they will have to talk about the ingredients and what it does to your body. And that is negative value. So logically, you cannot sell Coke on logical value. But guess what they do? They double down on the emotional value. So if you see any advert on Coca-Cola, it is very high on emotional value. Coca-Cola espouses friendship, excitement, fun, soccer, football, right? All of these are emotional values. So essentially, if you drink a Coke, you're going to be more friendly, you're going to be more fun. There was even that advert about Coke that did you take the Coke and you're like, brrr. What does that mean? It's all emotional. It's all emotional. So Coke is a multi-billion-dollar business because it sells a product and focuses mostly on the emotional value, even though the product may have negative logical value, but they don't talk about the logical value of Coke because they know that is an argument they will not win. But on the emotional value, you cannot compare Coke to anything else. Coke is a huge and fantastic brand, despite having weaknesses on the logical side. But because they double down on the emotional side, Coke is able to sell millions of bottles and cans every year. That's how powerful the conversation about value is. Let me give you another example. This time, let me use Rolex as a product, right? Now, Rolex as a wristwatch has logical value. And the logical value of a wristwatch is that it can tell time. So in that sense, it is a timepiece, right? The second logical value is as a fashion accessory. It's a wristwatch you can wear. Now, if you think in terms of this logical value, a timepiece that tells time and a fashion accessory, Rolex should not be selling for the amounts that it sells for tens of thousands of dollars. Because if you look at Rolex through the logical value lens, you will compare Rolex to any wristwatch outside there. But then Rolex knows that if it only sells on logical value, it cannot command the high prices. So what does it do? It doubles down on emotional value. So I'm sure you've seen the adverts. Rolex doesn't tell time, it tells history. Rolex is not just a wristwatch. It is something for people who are achievers. Rolex is a gift you get on your retirement day. Rolex is something a grandfather passes down to his grandson. Rolex is about legacy. Rolex is about style. Rolex is about class. What are all these things? They are emotional values. They are sentiments. They are feelings. You cannot measure them. You cannot compare them against any other product. So by doing that, all of a sudden, Rolex is in a class of its own. And when you're in a class of your own, guess what you get to do? You get to charge any price you want because nobody can compare you to another competitor. When you sell only on logical value, then I can compare you to your competition. I can say your competitor's product lasts 3 years longer than yours. I can say your competitor's product is faster than yours. I can say your competitor's product is bigger than yours. I can use measurable metrics. That is the danger of only selling on the logical on the side of logical value, right? But again, if you don't sell any sort of, if you're not a Coca-Cola, it might be very difficult for you to sell any product without mentioning the logical value in what you sell. But the problem is that when many people sell, they tend to focus so much more on the logical value that they're selling. They tend to tell their clients things like, our product is more durable, the quality is higher, it is faster, you know. All these things are metrics. So they are measurable metrics. And the problem with measurable metrics is that you may win today, but that doesn't mean you're going to win tomorrow. So that is the danger in only focusing on the logical value of what you sell. So what this means is that you have to sit down and think about the emotional value of what you sell. Anything you sell, no matter how boring it is, whether you sell cement or you sell sand or you sell school textbooks, every product has an emotional side, if you can think of it. In fact, if a company like Coca-Cola and a product like Coca-Cola can come up with emotional value, if a product that has on its own very weak logical value can come up with so much emotional value that it gets away with being a multi-billion-dollar company, I am very sure that whatever it is you sell, you can come up with the emotional benefits that people are going to get by consuming your product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put myself in the lab, and I'm going to use myself as an experiment. So if you're watching this video before the 1st of August or on the 1st of August, it means that I have launched my business mentorship group, right? So the business mentorship group is the product, and I'm going to try to sell it to you logically and emotionally. But before you can start selling, you need to establish credibility, you need to establish familiarity. And one of the best ways of doing this is an introduction. So if you don't follow me on social media, or you've been following me and you don't know what I'm about, my name is John-Paul Iwuoha. I'm a business strategy specialist. What it means to the man on the street is that I solve tough business problems, and I've been doing it for more than a decade. I make it easier and faster to build a business that is thriving. I have clients that span all the way from Gambia and West Africa up until Ethiopia and Somalia, and then all the way down to South Africa. So my clients are active in various industries: agribusiness, manufacturing, digital tech, fashion, all kinds of. I've been helping people start businesses, people who are based on the continent, and then people who are outside the continent and are trying to set up something on the African continent. I am ex-PricewaterhouseCoopers. I used to work for one of the big global consultancies. My specialty, like I said, is business strategy. So that is introduction. That's essentially what that means. And why should you listen to me? Now, let me talk about the business mentorship group. Right? Many people who are trying to build businesses are actually struggling on their own. Many people make very poor decisions. So at the end of the day, they end up investing their time, money, and energy. They borrow money from the banks. They get money from investors because they're very excited about a business that they want to start. Or they already have a business, but they are trying to get it to the next level. And they are trying to make a big decision to expand that business. Many people, because they don't have the right kind of support. Many of the big companies get the right kind of support. But people like me, are in strategy groups in many of the big banks and big companies. But that is a benefit many small and mid-sized companies don't have. So the quality of decisions, particularly around strategy, around how to grow your business, how to raise money, how to get customers, how to expand your sales, how to grow your business, how to organize your business so that the performance operationally is maximized, how to optimize your profits, how to manage costs. There are a lot of issues. How to attract solid capital, how to manage people and make sure you're not losing them, how to retain your customers. There are a lot of moving parts in the business, and many business owners are struggling. So what this means is that members of my business mentorship group can have me in their corner and can improve the quality of decisions they're making in their businesses. What it means is that by working closely with me, they are going to notice a marked difference, improvement in the kind of businesses that they have, whether they're trying to start a business or they're trying to run their business better, or they're trying to grow their business. Essentially, that's what the business mentorship group is about. But I can't have everybody because there's limited capacity. So now I've introduced the product to you. Let me then talk about the logical benefits. The logical benefit is that you have access to a business strategy expert in your corner. That's one logical value. The second logical value is that you get tailored advice. Most of the things you read online are generic advice, or even if you're talking to somebody else, they're not talking to you. But in this case, you have an expert who diagnoses your problem and is able to give you feedback based on your situation and in your context. So you are getting tailored advice. Most of the responses you get in the BMG, in the business mentorship group, you will get a response within 24 hours. So there's responsiveness. Now that's logical value because you can measure it. So you ask a question, something about your business and all that, you get a response within 24 hours. Another benefit you get is that in terms of the cost, it is 100 times lower than the cost of getting the same quality of service from one of the big consulting firms, right? Many small and mid-sized businesses cannot afford this kind of service. But by getting into my group, right, I'm able to split the cost so that it makes sense for somebody like me to provide this kind of service. So in terms of cost, it's a logical value. It's measurable, right? So I've just essentially, I've mentioned what the logical value is. Now for the emotional value. Now, if you're going to do this without the context of this lesson, I recommend that you weave in your emotional value into the logical value, right? So I've now told you about the logical value. The emotional value is that you have less fear and more confidence. There are entrepreneurs and business owners that are trying to make a decision, but they are not sure. And that's because they don't understand the dynamics and the mechanics of what their decisions will entail in terms of the risk that it will entail, the resources and things like that. But by having an expert in your corner, somebody who has seen this kind of decision before, somebody who has seen what you're about to do, right? You get the right kind of feedback that you need to make decisions with confidence. So there's less fear, more confidence. The other emotional benefit is that there's less confusion and more clarity, right? There are many business owners that cannot make moves because they have all these ideas in their head, but it's not clear to them. And many people around you, if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, they don't understand how your mind works, right? So you get the kind of quality support such that you are able to unbox what is in your mind, and I can help you make it clear so that the confusion is done. So for example, you're trying to grow your business and you have 5 different options, and all of them are looking promising, right? But based on my experience, I can look at those 5 options and tell you 4 of them are going to lead you down a dangerous path, but this is the one you should follow. Why? I've done it many times in 10 years plus. So what that does for you is that it reduces your confusion and you can now be more action oriented. There's more clarity. You can take action. Another benefit is that it reduces the loneliness of building a business. So I'm going to be having a couple of dozen entrepreneurs inside the Business Mentorship Group. So you are seeing your peers. You are benefiting from our hot seat sessions. You are benefiting from our collaboration sessions. You can see what other people are doing with their businesses. And again, what does that do? That also feeds into giving you more confidence and more clarity. Another emotional benefit of joining my BMG, my Business Mentorship Group, is that you can avoid the pain of losses and regrets. Anybody who has lost money in a business due to a bad decision or a bad association, getting into the wrong deal, understands the pain I'm talking about. There's a pain of loss that comes from business, and sometimes it's totally predictable, right? But it's just that people didn't know what they were walking into. But belonging to a business mentorship group, what that does is that you have me in your corner again to help you avoid those landmines and potholes that many entrepreneurs unwittingly get stuck in, because they don't have the proper guidance, because they don't have the proper support, because they don't have the right mentorship. So you can avoid the pain of regrets and the pain of losses. That's an emotional benefit. And then another emotional benefit I'll talk about before I wrap up is loneliness. Building a business is lonely for many people. You are the top, you are the CEO, everything depends on you. A lot of people are depending on you, but many people don't understand the cross you bear. Many people don't understand the burden you carry. In the Business Mentorship Group, you are going to be essentially with your peers, people who understand your language, people who understand the unspoken sorrows and burdens that entrepreneurs go through. So essentially, that's what it is. It's a group for entrepreneurs and business owners. You may have started a business or you may not have started a business. So this group is for people who are planning to start a business, but maybe they are not sure which business to start, or you're sure about which business to start, but you're struggling with things like, how will I raise money? How will I have this idea in my head, but it's not clear. What's the best way to go? What's the best business model to use? What will be the value proposition? How do I go about developing the product? How do I go about testing demand before investing time, energy, and money and getting stuck? All those things happen at the startup stage. I'm also looking forward to receiving people who have started a business, but you're struggling with the typical startup challenges that a startup has. You're struggling to get customers. You're struggling to keep the business running because you're facing cash flow problems. You may likely run out of cash soon. You're struggling to raise money. You're struggling to get known in the marketplace. You're struggling with your resources, whether it's human capital, physical resources, and things like that. So those are typical problems in the startup stage. And I expect that some people in the BMG are going to be in the startup stage. I'm also looking forward to people who are facing challenges with running their business or growing their business. Operations is the heart of a business. And for many people who have figured out how to attract customers and make sales, the biggest headache is keeping that engine called the business, keeping it running, managing everything from your finances to your human resources to the strategy to your partners, whether they are distributors or suppliers, and all that. Those are the challenges that people face as they're trying to run a business. And then also growing a business. You'll be running a business. Business is good. You have customers, but you are stuck at a certain level. You want to get to the next level. You want to grow. You want to expand. You want to move from either being a one man or one woman business into a business that can self-sustain and keep running, even if you take a 1 week vacation, or you fall ill, or you need to be with friends and family, and you don't need your business to always be fully dependent on you. So as you can imagine, there is a wide spectrum of entrepreneurs that I expect to join the Business Mentorship Group. Whether you haven't started a business or you've started, or you've been in business for some time and you're trying to grow, the Business Mentorship Group is for you. These are people who are going to be in my inner circle, in my private circle. These are people that are going to have me in their corner. These are people that I'm going to help take their business to the next level. Unfortunately, I am one person. I can't do it for everybody. So there's a limited capacity. There's a limited number of people I can actually help. So if you're watching this, the link to join the BMG would be somewhere below or above this video. Now, I don't just want any kind of person. I want to be sure you are at a point in your business where I can truly help you. I don't want this to be a waste of time, energy, and money for you. So that's why there's going to be an assessment. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about your business. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about the kind of person you are. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about where you are coming from and where you want to be in the next couple of years, right? So it is based on that assessment, I will then select the people who are going to join the BMG. So like I said, if you are interested in joining the Business Mentorship Group, there's going to be a link either above or below this video. I look forward to receiving you in the BMG. And if you are not one of the lucky people to join, the Business Mentorship Group opens only 2 times a year. It's only 2 times a year I accept people into the BMG. So this is the August season. I recruit once in August, which is towards the end of the year, and then I'm going to recruit early in 2025. So if you don't make it this time around, I have a waiting list. So if anybody pulls out of the BMG for whatever reason, if there's any seat available, if you're on my waiting list, then I can invite you to join the BMG. So don't forget to recap on this video. I've talked about value. Value is very important in a sales conversation. And even though value is the unspoken element in any sales conversation, people are always thinking about value. Value influences people to buy what you're selling. Value helps to justify your price. And value is not just value. There are 2 kinds of value. There's logical value, there's emotional value. If you focus too much on logical value, you make it easy for people to compare you to other people. You make it easy for people to more or less nickel and dime you. You make it very easy for people to say your price is too expensive, or there's not much value in what I'm selling. That is why emotional value is important, because you're selling to human beings, and human beings usually will consider their emotions, even though they may argue or say they are being perfectly logical, but almost no human being is perfectly logical. Emotions play a big role in what we buy and how we sell. So you need to make sure you're using it to your advantage. I gave you a couple of business examples of companies that are using emotional value to get away with very high prices, even though what they sell is not dramatically out of this world, right? And then I talked about my Business Mentorship Group. And I'm hoping that one of you who is watching this will be one of the lucky people who make it into my BMG. Until we get started in the BMG in August, I look forward to receiving you. Cheers.